Hello everyone, this is Logan, and today I'm going to be doing a review of OS 10.9 Mavericks. As you can see by the default wallpaper and by the fact that if we go to About This Mac, we can confirm that we are on OS 10.9 Mavericks. Now, this might get a bit long, which is why I have created an annotation sort of chapter selection guide thing. Obviously, you need to be on the desktop version of YouTube in order to utilize this, and you have to have annotations enabled. Once both of those things are done, you should see a chapter selection. Just click on any one of those annotations, and as if by magic or a few lines of code by Google and C++, you should be magically taken to that part of the video. So, without further ado, let's get on with the first set of features, which are all related to Finder. Now, as you can see, this is Finder, and it looks pretty similar to how it looks on Mountain Lion. However, there are a few different features. For example, tabs. So, let's just create a few new tabs. And in one tab, maybe we can go to AirDrop. In another tab, we'll just keep that all my files. In this tab, we'll go to my applications, and in this tab, we'll go to movies. So we can have, as you can see, I have 4 tabs opened. So let's go full screen, which is another feature of Mavericks, and possibly the reason they have this sort of Finder tab system, because otherwise it's a bit useless. So, as you can see, there we go. You can also do windows. So let's do new Finder window, new Finder window, new Finder window, and of course you can easily manage those by going into mission control, or you can just do it the old-fashioned way. So those are some new features in Finder. Now let's go into MS Word. And let's just type in random gibberish on the keyboard. Now, when we go to save, along with the Save As panel, we now have different tags that you can save. So let's save to orange, red, blue, green, and 2 tags that I created called Test A and Test B. So let's now save the document, close out, go back into Finder, and as you can see, we now have all of these in different things, including Test A, Test B, and all of those types of things. Now, let's go into Safari. Now, this isn't really an OS 10.9 feature, because you can get this new version of Safari in 10.8.5, the newest version of Mountain Lion, but I figured it is worth mentioning because it is a new feature by Apple. Now, this is, I believe, Safari 9. Let's just check that to make sure. No, this is version 7. I was way off. So, yeah, as you can see, this is Safari 7. We can go to different websites. Let's just go to this site. This is the Apple website. And as you can see, if we push bookmarks, instead of having this sort of cover flow thing like we used to, we now have sort of a sidebar. So let's just go to my subscriptions. You can see who I'm subscribed to. Let's go here. This is a place where I can play NES games and SNES games inside of a browser. So, yeah, those are just some examples of what you can do. We also have Reading List. So, those are the 2 sites I have in Reading List. I really don't use it a whole lot. And this new feature called Shared Links. So, this first of all, you have to have a Twitter account in order for this to work, a Twitter or a LinkedIn account. Once you have one of those accounts enabled, you can now browse the links in your Twitter feed. it pulls right from your Twitter feed. So let's click on this link from ICU ID.
Hey YouTube, it's Ace.
So as you can see, it redirected me to a YouTube link. Let's go to something else. Stuart Ashton's. He's a funny man. And it's gone to Stick Aid, which I think is some kind of charity thing, if I remember. So let's close out of that. So those are the new features, just some of the new features in Safari, along with, again, the new look. And speaking of new look, that is feature number 3. So, first of all, you'll notice things have a lot more of a metallic look. As you can see, folders look a bit more metallic. That looks a bit more metallic. If we go into something like notes, you'll see that's a bit more shiny and metallic. Basically, they've gotten rid of a lot of the skeuomorphism in OS X, which, not a very good idea in iOS 7, in my opinion, but definitely a good idea in OS X, because we could definitely benefit from a lot less skeuomorphism in OS X. Another app where this is very prominent is Calendar. So as you can see, gone is the sort of leather-bound skeuomorphism, and with it, it replaces it with this sort of metallic, interface. Of course, a few other minor design changes. That looks a bit different, not quite, doesn't have quite that sort of linen look that it did in Mountain Lion. And also, we have some minor design changes in Notification Center. And if we go back into Launchpad, you'll notice that folders are a lot more skeuomorphic, like with utilities, for example. So, that is that. I'm just kind of scratching the surface as far as the sort of design change. There's a lot more, but again, just scratching the surface. Next feature I figured I would go over is iBooks. Now, I'm just going to state for the record, I don't like iBooks. Not because it's a bad idea, far from it, but hear me out. I hate it for 3 reasons. First reason is Kindle is far superior, not just in ebooks, but also in device selection. iBooks is available on iOS, so iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch, and OS X now. Kindle has always been available on iOS and OS X, but it is also available on Windows. It's available on unique Kindle devices, like the Kindle Fire, Kindle Touch, and it's available on Android. So, you don't have to be part of Apple's ecosystem in order to use it. Now, if you are part of Apple's ecosystem, that's pretty nice, because this syncs over the cloud. However, it's not very good if you live outside Apple's ecosystem, and it's not very good overall because the ebook selection is a bit poor as compared to Amazon's Kindle. The other thing I figured I would go over is you can't delete it in macOS. If you try and delete it, you just can't. This is a problem because you could delete it on the iPad just fine. I kind of wish Kindle would be more of an optional download. But, I can live with it. I just have it hidden in a folder, I don't have it in the dock, I can live with that. The other problem I have is the fact that it's really not necessary on a computer. Maybe a MacBook Air, but that's kind of pushing it a bit. But let's go into here. And one of the nice things about iBooks on the iPad is you could read PDFs on here. That's not the case with here, and not really necessary anyway, because macOS can read PDFs just fine. The iPad can't. So, iBooks kind of uses that to its advantage. So, here is iBooks. To be fair, it is pretty smooth. I haven't actually tried the Kindle app for OS X, but I'm just saying Kindle is a superior service. Amazon is a superior service to Apple's iBooks. But it is pretty smooth, has some decent animations, doesn't have that sort of book-turning animation that the iPad versions had, but hey, I'm not complaining. It's just animations, nothing too big. You can also take it full screen, and you can select text. You can't have it speak to you, which is something I believe Kindle will allow you to do. But, yeah. Overall, not a huge fan of iBooks, but it's not the worst thing in the world. What is the worst thing in the world is Apple Maps. Now, this is something I don't understand, and I've said this on numerous occasions. Worst feature of iOS, best feature of OS X. This is one of the features that Apple seems to tout a lot, and a lot of people are saying, oh, this is a great feature. No, it's not. It wasn't good on iOS. It's not good here. Because it is using Apple's map system. And even here, it's taking a pretty long time to load. I mean, it's just finally loaded. But, yeah. I mean, to be fair, it is relatively smooth, but why not just use Google Earth? That's, you know, a far superior thing that can pretty much get the same job done. Or for that matter, why not just go in a browser and use Google Maps? It's far more accurate. It's a far better service. Why would you use Apple Maps? Why would you, by choice, use Apple Maps anyway? So, again, you can take it full screen, and to be fair, it looks pretty nice in full screen. I don't know if Google Earth can do full screen or not. I would assume it could. But, still, just use Google Maps. Just use Google Earth. Just use anything but Apple Maps. Of course, you can go to your location, and you can type in your own address. Like, for example, Las Vegas, Nevada. And it will take you there. And to be fair, it is pretty quick. You also do have flyover, of course. At least you should anyway. I guess I haven't really figured out how to make that work, but you can have flyover. So that is Apple Maps. And to be fair, at least it's smooth, but why would you in your right mind actually use it? Oh, and you can send it to your iPhone, which, granted, is a pretty nice feature, but it's just going to take you in the wrong direction anyway, so who gives a darn? Next thing I figured I should go through is Dictation. Now, this is a really nice feature that Apple really hasn't pushed, and in fact, not many people know of it as a result. So, this is how Dictation typically works. Let's just open MS Word again. This is a test of voice dictation on OS X. This is a test of voice dictation on OS X. Surprised it didn't say OSX, but I don't know. I guess it's just because it's Microsoft and I don't know. So that's how it typically works. It typically goes from your computer to a server and then back to your computer. So 2 hiccups with that. Well, 3 actually. 1, it is a bit inaccurate. 2, it takes a lot longer than it really should. And 3, you need to be connected to the internet. And 4, now that I just thought of it, you need to give certain information to Apple, like your contacts and calendar appointments, which some people might not be comfortable with. Now, with this, we can turn on enhanced dictation. Now, what this does is, if you're familiar with how Google Now works, it is pretty much the same deal. So, let's go back into Word and try this. One day, comma, you and your wife go to the beach on holiday, period. On your way, comma, you stop for gas, period. While your wife gets gas, comma, you'll notice that she is also fumbling for something in the trunk, period. while she is going to pay, you will start the car and the car immediately explodes. Period. Moments later, comma, large amounts of kerosene are noticed at the scene of the incident. Period. By the time this is found out, comma, your wife has already gone out and searched for another man whose life will soon be ruined. Period. Yep, comma, I can definitely see myself using this on a daily basis. Period. So as you can see, works pretty well. And again, this works offline. You don't have to send any crucial information to Apple, and it is just that quick. If I would have done something like that with the traditional dictation, it would have taken a lot longer to process and would have been considerably more inaccurate because, again, it does have to go from Apple's server to your computer. So let's quit out of that and quit out of that. So next feature is probably the biggest feature of Mavericks, just the stability of it. You'll notice that things are a lot quicker, a lot snappier, and animations are a lot less, are a lot more polished, perhaps. So, for example, let's go to this website at Samsung Mobile. I guess this is their Facebook. And you can see just how fast I can scroll through different things. And you can even do sort of like a reader view in the shared links. I didn't even notice that. So let's just do that.
Hey guys, DT here.
So that is pretty much it. It is also a lot more battery efficient. Basically, there are a lot of background processes in motion with this, and like, for example, AppNap, and the fact that if you click away from a window, it permanently deactivates the window. Well, temporarily deactivates the window, which is something that could not be said for previous versions of Mac OS. So, as a result, you get slightly longer battery life. Beforehand, I'm running a 2012 MacBook Pro. Obviously, if you have maybe a later or an earlier model, your mileage may vary. But I was able to get about 4.5 hours. Now with OS X Mavericks, I can get about maybe 5.5 to 6 hours. So, considering I can get an hour and a half longer battery life, that is pretty cool. That it is just, through software and no hardware tweaks had to be made. Well, no hardware tweaks can be made, because it's a freaking MacBook. So, that is pretty darn cool. That is pretty much the majority of... No, actually, it's not. I'm going to show you one more feature. This is the new and improved notification center. As you can see, it looks pretty similar. You can swipe up to turn Do Not Disturb on and off like you could in Mountain Lion, but you can also do messaging. And supposedly, if you get a new notification, I haven't tried this yet because I can't figure out how to really make it work. Supposedly, you will be able to get the you will be able to reply to the notification without even going into the messaging or email app or, various other applications. And also with FaceTime, you can now, just like with iOS, reply with a message or remind yourself to call the person, which is, again, pretty darn cool. So that is just kind of an overview of OS X. I'm sure there are tons of new and improved features that I completely missed, but I just kind of want to give you an overview of the operating system. So, do I think this is a worthy upgrade? Absolutely. I mean, I was definitely pretty skeptical at first, especially considering I was afraid I would have to get the new iLife apps, and those apps are completely terrible. But turns out those are optional, and I was worrying about absolutely nothing, and I completely just put off downloading this for 2 months for absolutely no reason. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say. I hope you enjoyed, and bye.